Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. It's a true honor to be here today to speak to you about the Battle of Fallujah. And I think we've gotten started on the presentation. I sat after General Natonsky and I talked about coming down and speaking to you all. I sat for many a day trying to figure out what it was I was going to talk about. And I went and prepared a standard PowerPoint presentation with bullets and all the boring stuff. And I decided instead to make a presentation that is completely photographs. And what's going to be, we're going to be flipping through in the next few minutes while I talk, are some of the photographs of action out of Fallujah that I believe tell the story much, much better than I could do with any words. The Battle of Fallujah was probably the turning point for the beginning of the end for al-Qaeda in Iraq. Up until Operation Phantom Fury, the American military had become involved in an operation, Operation Iraqi Freedom, that increasingly became anarchy within the country and a rising insurgency throughout the end of 2003 and into 2004. So much so that the Marines were asked to return to Iraq and take responsibility for Anbar province. No sooner had they arrived than 4 Blackwater security guards were escorting a small convoy of flatbed trucks, took a wrong turn, and drove straight through the center of Fallujah. We all know the outcome of that. It was a horrendous ambush in which the 4 security guards were killed. I liken that wrong turn and poor judgment of a serial commander to the same thing that happened in Nasiriyah when the 507th Maintenance Company drove through. The results were horrible in each instance, but more so, they had an impact at the highest levels of command within Iraq. In Nasiriyah, the 507th Maintenance Company gave the Iraqis confidence that they might even be able to repel the American invasion in March of 2003. And goaded by the Saddam Fedayeen that were in the city of Nasiriyah, all the Iraqi army and every Iraqi with a gun moved to his defensive position, waiting for the 1st Battalion, 2nd Marines to arrive. That 507th ambush led to a horrendous day for the Marines on March 23rd, 2003. And the same is true with the Blackwater ambush. Because of that ambush, at the national command level, decisions were made and orders were given to go in and retaliate for that ambush. American commanders at the highest level had visions of the Black Hawk Down incident in Mogadishu, and they insisted, even after the Marine commanders, General Conway and General Mattis, had recommended restraint, they insisted that we move to attack in Fallujah. So, as any good Marine officer would do, they gave their recommendation to their commanders as to the best course of action, and then, when given orders, they said, yes, sir, and they attacked into Fallujah without any preparation. The Marines had only been there less than a week. There was no time to prepare the civilian population in the city, and there certainly wasn't any time to plan an operation. There was no time to embed reporters for Operation Vigilant Resolve. The result of Operation Vigilant Resolve was that the world started receiving reports that the Marines were indiscriminately killing civilians. Albeit many of those reports were incorrect, the perception throughout the world is that the bad guy American invaders in Iraq had gone into Fallujah to destroy the city and kill civilians. So within a week, the president was ordered to order to withdraw from the city. And again, as any good Marine officer, General Mattis and General Conway stopped offensive actions within the city. They worked for the next several months to try to restore order and quell the violence within the city unsuccessfully. They tried to help the Fallujians solve the problem themselves. They asked them to set up what was called the Fallujah Brigade. Well, the problem with the Fallujah Brigade was that it was made up of Ba'ath Party loyalists, people that were still loyal to the Saddam Hussein's regime, and many Republican Guard soldiers and former officers. Again, they may not have been loyal to Saddam Hussein, but they had all lost their jobs. Back in 2003, decisions were made, and they were all made for good reasons, but some of them didn't turn out as well as we would have expected. And two of those decisions, I believe, were, number one, to disband the Ba'ath Party, and that anybody that was a Ba'ath Party member could not work in the new Iraqi government. Well, everybody that worked in the former Iraqi government was a Ba'athist. So in effect, we legislated anarchy in that country. The other decision was to disband the Iraqi army. And again, what we did was we helped to quell the anarchy, because without an army, the Iraqi people and new government had no way of enforcing their laws. And on top of it, we put most of the country out of work. So the Fallujah Brigade was at best questionable, and I believe most of the elements of the Fallujah Brigade were actually working with the enemy. So in the summer of 2003, the implementation of the Fallujah Brigade within the city was a dismal failure, and many times General Mattis wanted to go in and clear the city, but was restrained. It was just not in the cards for General Mattis to command the operation that would clear Fallujah. Given the opportunity, he certainly would have gone in and done that. In September of 2004, General Natanski, then Major General Natanski, came to Fallujah, Anbar province, and assumed command of the 1st Marine Division. At that point in time in the history of Iraq, it had become evident that Fallujah had become a gathering point for the insurgency. Al-Zarqawi had been chased out of his northern stronghold up in northern Iraq in March of 2003, and he ended up in Fallujah. Former Baathists that were still loyal to Saddam Hussein, ex-Republican Guard, soldiers and officers ended up in Fallujah. There was a strong population of Islamic fundamentalists that lived within Fallujah, and many, many more that came from all over the world to kill Americans. It became evident to the American commanders that there needed to be a solution in Fallujah, that we needed to go in and clear that city of the terrorists that had taken a stronghold, a foothold within Fallujah. There were at any given time estimates of over 5,000 insurgents living and working out of that city. And they were spreading violence throughout Iraq and then returning to that city to rest and rearm. So the American command decided that it would be impossible for the elections in 2005 to succeed in Iraq without Fallujah being pacified. So the American commanders, General Casey and General Metz, went to the Iraqis and convinced them that a new operation needed to be launched to clear the city of Fallujah. General Natanski was given orders to clear that city, and he started planning, and he started to do the job right. They went through an extended planning process, and The first thing that they determined was that there wasn't enough manpower to maintain security throughout Al Anbar province and to clear Fallujah.